Hey there.
Hey, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better from the flu?
Yes, thank you for asking. Yes, I feel better than yesterday. Yeah, but I have cold ache. 喉がちょっと痛いって英語でなんていうの？
I'm glad you're feeling better. 喉がちょっと痛いは英語で My throat hurts a little. Yeah, I have a slight sore throat. と言えます. If it's more like irritation, you can also say my throat feels a bit scratchy.
My throat hurt little.
That sounds like an interesting phrase. Are you referring to something specific, or is it a name or concept you came up with?
By the way, tomorrow I have an appointment of interview from NHK.
Wow, that's amazing. Is it for a job, an internship, or something else? What's the interview about?
取材って英語でなんていうの？
取材は英語でインタビューや coverage と言います。例えば NHK の取材を受ける I'm being interviewed by NHK NHK が取材に来る NHK is coming for an interview ニュースの取材 News coverage どんな内容の取材なの？
I'm being interviewed from NHK.
Almost perfect. A small correction. I'm being interviewed by NHK. We use by instead of from when talking about who is doing the interview. That's really exciting. What's the interview about?
I'm being interviewed by NHK.
Perfect. That sounds really exciting. What's the interview about?
The topic is
Take your time. Is it about your work, a project you're involved in, or something else?
politics. I received some questions in advance by NHK. So
That sounds fascinating. Poetics is such a deep and meaningful topic. What kind of questions did NHK send you? Are they focusing on literary analysis, philosophy, or something else?
exactly. First question is that when did you get interested in politics?
That's a great question. How are you thinking of answering it? When did you first become interested in poetry?
Yeah, when I help election campaign.
That's really interesting. How did working on an election campaign lead you to become interested in poetry?
The second question is that what is the most interesting social problem?
That's a big and important question. How are you thinking of answering it? Is there a particular social issue that stands out to you the most?
By the way, could you point out if I make a mistake in my English?
Of course, I'll correct any mistakes while keeping your sentences natural. For your previous sentence, The second question is, what is the most interesting social problem? The small fix is replacing that with a colon or just using is directly. Now, back to the question. What social problem are you thinking of discussing?
Yeah, that's very, very difficult question. Yeah, I am interested in 相続税。相続税って英語になんて言うの？
Good sentence. Just a small correction. Yeah, that's a very, very difficult question. I'm interested in inheritance tax. Sanzokse is called inheritance tax in English. Are you thinking of discussing how inheritance tax affects wealth distribution or something else?
How to spell that?
It's spelled INHERINCETAX. Let me know if you want to practice using it in a sentence.
Inheritance tax. Is that right pronunciation?
Not quite. The correct pronunciation is inheritance tax, inheritance tax. It's not heritans tax, but rather heritans tax. Would you like me to break it down further?
Inheritance tax. Is that right?
Almost. It's inheritance tax, pronounced inheritance tax, inheritance tax. Your version, heritans tax, sounds a bit different, so try focusing on heritances instead of Haiti-town. You're doing great. Want to try saying it again?
Inheritance tax.
Not quite. Try heritans tax. It sounds like inheritance tax. Heritans? You're close. Keep practicing, and you'll get it.
相続税に興味があるって英語になんて言うの？
I'm interested in inheritance tax. もう少し詳しく言いたいなら, I'm interested in how inheritance tax affects society. I'm interested in the impact of inheritance tax on wealth distribution. こんな感じで使います。
核のゴミ問題、英語でなんて言うの？
核のゴミ問題は英語で the issue of nuclear waste や the problem of nuclear waste disposal と言います。例えば the issue of nuclear waste is a serious environmental problem. The problem of nuclear waste disposal needs long-term solutions. どういう文で使いたい？
Issue of nuclear waste is the most interesting topic for me because the government didn't think about it.
Almost perfect. Here's a more natural version. The issue of nuclear waste is the most interesting topic for me because the government, if you want to continue the sentence, you could say, has not found a permanent solution, plays a key role in its management, faces challenges in finding a safe disposal method. What do you want to say about the government's role?
後回しにしてきたって英語でなんて言うの？
後回しにしてきたは英語で has been putting off や has been delaying など言えます。例えば the government has been putting off dealing with nuclear waste. The government has been delaying a solution for nuclear waste disposal. どんな風に言えたい？
The government has been delayed the solution of nuclear waste, even if they know the problem happened in 1966.
Almost perfect. Here's a more natural version. The government has been delaying a solution for nuclear waste, even though they knew the problem started in 1966. A few small fixes. A solution. The solution sounds like there's only one, but usually there are multiple possible solutions. Even though is better because the government already knew the problem. Happened, started, is more natural when referring to when a problem began. Let me know if you want more refinements.
even though と even if 何が違うの？
Great question. Even though 事実に基づいているときに使う、実際に起こったことやすでに分かっていること。Even if 仮定の話や可能性のある場合に使う、まだ起こっていないことや仮の状況。例文で比較すると、Even though it was raining, we went outside. 実際に雨が降っていたけど、それでもホテルに出た。Even if it rains tomorrow, we will go outside. まだ雨が降るかわからないけど、降っても外に行くつもり。あなたの文章では、1966年に問題が起こったことを知っているというのが事実なので、even though が正しいです。
The government has been delayed the solution of nuclear waste, even though the government knows that the issue of nuclear waste will happen in 少なくとも
You're very close. Here's a more natural version of your sentence. The government has been delaying a solution for nuclear waste, even though it knows that the issue of nuclear waste will happen. Small corrections. 1. The solution of nuclear waste, a solution for nuclear waste, we use a solution for instead of the solution of, because there can be multiple solutions. 2. The government knows, it knows. Since the government was already mentioned, using it makes the sentence smoother. But will happen sounds a bit unnatural because the issue of nuclear waste is already happening. A more natural way to express your idea might be, the government has been delaying a solution for nuclear waste, even though it knows the issue is getting worse. The government has been delaying a solution for nuclear waste, even though it knows the problem will only grow in the future. Would you like to refine the sentence further?
Could you repeat the phrase again?
Of course. Here's the corrected sentence. The government has been delaying a solution for nuclear waste, even though it knows the issue is getting worse. Or, the government has been delaying a solution for nuclear waste, even though it knows the problem will only grow in the future. Let me know if you'd like more practice with this.
少なくとも1966年の段階では核の問題が起こるってしてたのに、政府はその問題を後回しにしたって英語でなんて言うの
？At least by 1966, the government knew that the nuclear waste issue would occur, but it put off dealing with the problem. Breakdown of key parts. At least by 1966, 少なくとも26年の段階では、the government knew that the nuclear waste issue would occur. 政府は核の問題が起こると知っていた, but it put off dealing with the problem. でも、その問題を後回しにした。You can also say, the government knew at least by 1966 that the nuclear waste issue would happen, but it kept postponing the solution. Would you like any refinements?
At least 1966, the government knew the issue of nuclear waste would occur, but the government put it off.
You're very close. Here's a more natural version. At least by 1966, the government knew that the issue of nuclear waste would occur, but it put it off. Small corrections. 1, at least 1966. At least by 1966. By 1966 sounds more natural when talking about a time frame in the past. 2, The government knew the issue of nuclear waste would occur. The government knew that the issue of nuclear waste would occur. Adding that makes it grammatically smoother. 3, but the government put it off. Repeating the government is a bit unnatural, so just saying, but it put it off. Sounds better. You're doing great. Want to try saying it again?
No, thank you. Yeah. And the last question is that if your policy would realize, what policy do you wanna realize? The last question is that if your policy would realize, what policy do you wanna make it?
You're very close. Here's a more natural version. The last question is, if your policy were to be realized, what policy would you want to create? Key fixes. 1, the last question is that. The last question is, use a colon or just is to introduce the question. 2, if your policy would realize. If your policy were to be realized, we use were to be realized in hypothetical situations. 3, what policy do you want to make? What policy would you want to create? Would you want to sounds more natural for a hypothetical situation. Create is better than make when talking about policies. Would you like to refine it further?
Last question is, if your policy would realize, what policy would you want to create?
You're very close. Here's the correct and more natural version. The last question is, if your policy were realized, what policy would you want to create? Small fixes. 1, last question is, the last question is, add the at the beginning for proper grammar. 2, if your policy would realize, if your policy were realized is correct for hypothetical situations, not would realize. 3, what policy would you want to create? Perfect. You're doing great. Want to try saying it again?
Thank you, but 18 minutes has passed, so I think we should wrap it up. So talk tomorrow.
You're welcome. Just a small correction. Thank you. But 18 minutes have passed, so I think we should wrap it up. Let's talk tomorrow. Your sentence was already very clear. Just a small fix